Hi, my name is John Starnes, and I'm a managing director with Consortium Networks. And I'm here today to talk about the difference between CNAPP, CSPM, and other cloud security acronyms, as this is a very confusing space filled with many different acronyms and many different capabilities. So first, I'll talk about the evolution of cloud security capabilities and kind of what's happened over the last 15 years or so. First, in 2006, AWS released the Cloud Security Shared Responsibility model. And what this is basically the definition of who's responsible for what. The cloud service providers, or CSPs, are responsible for security of the cloud, meaning they're responsible for securing the infrastructure at the physical level, the data centers that these different services are delivered from, the availability of resources, the different services that are provided to organizations, and they typically have their own compliance and SOC 2 around that component. But the customer is responsible for security in the cloud, so meaning the VMs that the customer deploys, the data that they upload, who they grant access to inside the cloud environment, what the cloud environment is connected to, that's what the customer is responsible for. And so AWS defined this, and it's been something that's been used many times over since 2006, but this is really the first iteration of kind of defining that security model. Next, because the customer is responsible for security of the workloads that they push, cloud workload protection platforms, or CWPPs, were released in around 2010. This is really focused on securing the workloads themselves, so VMs, containers, serverless resources. 2014, CM technologies were released, so Cloud Infrastructure Entitlement Management. This is focused really around the IAM component of cloud environments, who has access to what, auditing of those accesses and entitlements. Cloud Security Posture Management, CSPM, in 2018. This is focused around the administrative control plane of the cloud environments. And then finally, 2020, the most recent kind of modern iteration of all of these is CNAPP tools, or Cloud Native Application Protection Platforms. This is the culmination of the history so far, is kind of enrolled into one singular platform, which incorporates all these different elements. So with that, we'll jump into CWPP and then go through each of those four and talk about what they are, what they do from a feature set, limitations as well. So Cloud Workload Protection Platforms, or CWPP, this is really focused around securing compute workloads inside of cloud environments. So think VMs, containers, serverless resources. Some of the key features these have are vulnerability scanning, threat detection and prevention, network segmentation at the compute level, or the VM level, endpoint detection and response, really focused on securing that specific computer operating resource, not the broader cloud environment itself. Some of the limitations here, many times these are agent-based, and so most of the time these are agent-based. So partial deployment does cause blind spots. If you don't have some sort of automation to deploy these scanners or agents every single time you deploy a new resource, you're likely going to miss out on many of the events that are happening inside of the environment, and you may have a partially uncovered compute resource environment. These are not typically aware of the broader security configuration, so you're looking at, you're not looking at things at the cloud control plane layer. You're only seeing things at that individual compute resource where your agents are deployed. And then you're not managing and monitoring the control plane, and then doesn't typically look at identities and those behaviors around lateral movement, except for where those agents are deployed. CM, or Cloud Infrastructure Entitlement Management. This is really focused around identity and access management capabilities in cloud environments, particularly when you're looking at multi-cloud. This focuses on who has what roles, who has what rights, what are people actually doing inside cloud environments. So you're getting visibility on auditing of user behavior. It does really tie into compliance reporting. That was a big driver for these technologies. So if I run a PCI environment or a HIPAA environment, this is a capability I really want to make sure I have so that I can prove to auditors who has access, what they're doing, that people weren't doing the wrong things inside of an environment. One of the issues with these, or limitations, was that they were typically prone to false positives. Large and complex environments with many customized roles are very challenging here. And a lot of times this does require some sort of specialized training for people that weren't used to running or operating these tools in the past. From a CSPM perspective, so Cloud Security Posture Management, this was looking more at the misconfigurations or non-compliance of infrastructure or configuration happening for different resources and services in the cloud. A good example of this would be something like an S3 bucket. If I'm an organization that deployed an S3 bucket, but my compliance standard says it has to be encrypted, if I didn't toggle that switch or build that into my infrastructure as code, then I might have a resource that gets deployed insecurely. And so what these do is they check via API typically all the different resources, the services, the regions that services are deployed in, the configuration of all these different assets and resources to see, are they deployed in a good way, or is there risk to my environment? Really great tools to have. The limitations here, though, is you don't actually typically get access into the workloads that CWPP was providing. It's not looking for malicious user behavior. Misconfigurations may not be contextualized. So you might see that a resource has a public IP, but if there's no route from the internet to that resource, that doesn't matter quite as much. Obviously, you want to build defense in depth and remove that misconfiguration to begin with, but those kinds of things where you linked, point A to point B on misconfiguration, it typically wasn't linked in the past year. These normally did have very limited application level insight. All of those three things then culminate into CNAPP, which is the most recent iteration of a lot of these tools. So cloud native application protection platforms. These basically include all of that, right? So the most robust services or products that deliver CNAPP capabilities, they do include CSPM, CM, and cloud workload protection. The great part about these is that, this is a combined into one singular console, so you're not jumping between multiple products. These are put into one console, and they do typically have great integrations with alert delivery, ticketing systems, automated remediation in certain cases, and obviously you can define what remediation you want to implement. Many of these do implement or integrate into the DevOps or DevSecOps or SecDevOps, whatever combination you like there, pipeline to make sure you can start to shift left on infrastructure as code. And these do have built-in checks for monitoring compliance. Also with workload protection capabilities, you can start to see what people are doing at the actual resource level. Two of these that we really like from a consortium network standpoint, we love CrowdStrike, we really like Wiz. There's a handful of others that are great products as well, but these are really great products to help enhance a team's ability to manage cloud environments, identify misconfigurations, and have better security just overall inside of their clouds. So hopefully this was all helpful. I know that was quick. There's a lot to talk about inside of cloud. If you do have any questions around the content here, we would love for you to contact us. We're Consortium Networks. We are the trusted cyber concierge, helping our clients solve their toughest cybersecurity problems. Like I said, I'm a managing director of our solutions and services practice. I do work on cloud risk with a lot of our clients. So I would love for anyone to contact us and ask us anything that you have questions about around this area. We'll see you next time. Thank you.